On today's show, filmmaker, podcaster, photographer, and sometimes musician, Dennis Cahlo. Look at that. Look at that face. Look, that is a face of many talents.
Should I speak?
Okay. This is building friendships. All right, guys, on today's episode, I'm going to be building this guy. This is old Yoda, not baby Yoda. This is old man Yoda. Not even a Star Wars fan, but it's a cool set. All of my sets are TV and film, so it makes sense. But yeah, we're doing baby Yoda today, and I guess it's time to reveal what you will be doing. This is the first time that you're gonna have 3 sets. The first 2 are tiny. I'll bring out the third one when we get to that segment. But
Okay.
the first 2 sets, I mean, we could reveal them, and it'll be pretty easy to figure out why I got you those sets. But let's start with those.
And I get to unwrap it?
Yes, unwrap the sets and
Okay.
throw that. Okay.
This is a camera.
Okay, so these are the first 2. They're very easy. Back in, I think, the 99-2000, Lego had some weird deal with Spielberg. I don't think it was like a sponsorship or anything, but they produced these Lego Studios sets, which were amazing. They came with camera crews. They came with like special effects work, like things that.
Oh my God.
They were different movie sets. So if you look at the back here, it'll show you some of the other sets, but it came with cameramen and things like that. So obviously, filmmaker, we had to get these sets. If you see how beat up that dinosaur one was,
yeah.
From 2000. When you
is
find
amazing.
this stuff on eBay, that's as good as it gets. So yeah, let's start unpacking.
Okay.
And get going.
Okay, now I'll start with the small one, right?
All right.
The camera. Okay, you have a Bible? Like, this is a booklet.
Yeah. And listen, there's no way I'd be very impressed with myself if I finished this during our shoot period. I mean, we're shooting for maybe 2 hours. I don't think we're going to do it. Well, that's the first one. You have big ones coming.
Okay,
I mean,
all right.
You have another one coming. Don't
Okay.
get cocky, sir.
You know, that was a line from Star Wars. Don't get cocky, kid.
I wouldn't know that because I've only seen the ones with Jar Jar.
Oh, so your introduction to Star Wars was awful.
Well, no, I tried during Christmas one day. They used to play them on like Channel 11. And I used to watch them. I've kept falling asleep. They were too boring. I'm not good with English accents in general. So when robots have them and people with swords have them, I was out.
It's crazy that we're still at a point where people don't believe in evolution and science.
Like, well, that's why when people are fighting for climate change, I'm like, let's start with basic science like evolution. Then we'll get to things like climate change because climate change is too complex, especially when we made the mistake of calling it global warming. Well, if it's global warming, how come there's snow?
How come it's so cold? Stupidest. It's the stupid. Can I curse?
Yeah.
It's the stupidest shit I've ever heard in my life. And the best is, you know, our dear now newly impeached president has said. He'll tweet out like, "Oh, it's -12 in Minnesota. How's that for global warming?" Sorry, sorry about that.
It's fine. It won't be the last time.
No, I was saying I'm sorry about mentioning the president.
Oh.
Yeah, I don't care about throwing.
Oh, okay. No, that's fine. Good. Yeah, no, we listen.
But yeah, so I
highly
really
doubt my viewer base is Trump supporters.
Imagine they are.
They don't know how to use YouTube.
Or Legos.
All we're building is a wall.
Oh my God! Imagine if Lego made a wall.
They would make so much money in the Bible Belt.
Hey, I'm done. Look at that.
That's impressive. There you go. Camera cards.
That is so great. And he's branded cameraman. He said, just in case you don't know who he is the cameraman. Can I start on my second set?
Yeah.
Wow. I'm very excited. Look at that.
But that set's so old, you can probably have just ripped it open from the bottom.
It's literally held together. It's held together by not even duct tape.
Yeah. Okay, so here's the beauty of eBay. It said new in box. I should have known when I received it with tape over the box that it was probably opened.
Mm-hmm.
And
it smells like cigarettes, too.
I'm pretty sure you are missing pieces. I do not see legs for some people. Oh, there's the leg. Oh, I see one set of legs, but a bunch of torsos.
And there's no cat.
There's no cat, and There's a random top hat. Don't know what it's for. There's nothing in this set that
I can
requires
put
a
it on my
top hat.
nose and then my
The
nose.
fedora is missing, so I think they intended on you to use it. That's a good look.
Let's see how much of this dinosaur I can actually build.
How did we actually meet? We met because you had done. Anya, Bethany, and I were out promoting our new web series, Anya Marina, Independent Woman.
Yes.
Is that how you came across Anya, or did you know her from other stuff?
No, I didn't. So here's how everything went down. It was kind of this really cool. It was a really cool like twist of fate in a lot of ways. What had happened was, I was at a show. I forget what show it was. I think it was. Oh, I remember what it was. It was. Who is it? Who's the former? Not former. She's still doing her thing. Man, I forget who I went and saw. But it was. I saw someone at Brooklyn Steel.
Okay.
And my friend Stella was with me. And if it wasn't my friend for my friend Stella, none of us would have met, because she.
So it's her fault.
It's her fault that I came into your lives
Fucking Stella.
and affected so many of you in so many horrible ways. So what happened was, Stella was like, "Hey, Dennis, Anya Marina's here. Do you know who that is?" And I said, "No." And she goes, "Oh, she's awesome. I love her. You should ask her to be on your podcast, because my podcast is called The Carrie Allen Picture Show." And she said, "You should ask her to be on the podcast because now she's doing acting and she's also doing a web series." And I said, "Cool." So I reached out to Anya randomly. The only way, I didn't have any information on her. The only thing that I had was her her Instagram. So I was like, okay, well, I have to message her somehow. So I messaged her on Instagram, and she randomly checked her messages. She was like, "I never check my like hidden DMs here," because I went into like her this person, this is a person you don't know box.
You slid into her DMs.
I slid into her fucking DMs, man, and she was like, "And you, it looks legit. Like you look like you have a legitimate podcast. So yeah, I'd love to be on." And that's how it all happened. And then from that, she was like, "I'd really love for you to interview John, because I think you guys would get along really well," which I'm pretty sure she was right.
Yeah.
Do we get along well?
Kinda.
No, we get along well.
No, we get along well.
Yeah.
It felt very natural when we did your podcast.
Yeah, we talked about shit.
A lot of it.
I mean, but dude, like, I mean,
Not the
look,
picture show you had in mind.
No, but I'm proud of it. I'm very proud of that
I thought it was
episode.
good.
It was very honest, and that's what I want. I want honesty from my
Yeah.
guests. I don't want them to be putting on their fancy airs. The next person that came on the show was Bethany. She did hers before yours or after yours?
Before mine.
Okay, so Bethany comes on
I sent
first.
her to go make sure you weren't a murderer. If she came back alive, I was like, sure, I'll go to that part of Brooklyn.
So she was the sacrifice?
Yeah.
That's pretty
She doesn't know that yet. Surprise. Thank you,
Surprise.
Bethany. Thank you for your service.
But little did anyone know, Bethany nor myself, is that Bethany came on the show, and then I was like, uh-oh, I think I like her. And then that whole
I
thing.
knew.
Yeah, you knew. How did you know?
I
How did
knew
everyone
right
know but
away.
us? We were the only ones that didn't know. That's ridiculous.
Well, Bethany was on this I'm never dating again path. I was like, yeah, okay. I'll hold my breath for that one. And then I've never met someone for the first time and gotten so many Instagram messages from them from when I met you.
Really?
And I thought immediately he's trying to hook up with Bethany. Immediately.
But I wasn't.
I don't know. That's the vibe I got immediately. Maybe subconsciously you
No,
were.
I swear to God, I wasn't. I just really liked
Because
you.
they weren't annoying messages. They were just like, I was like, I don't think, because, well, it has to do with like my low self-esteem. I'm like, I'm
Right.
not that likable. He has no business messaging me because
No, I really
wasn't
liked
that
you.
yeah, and in
Yeah.
in my mind, I'm looking at it like, okay, he likes Bethany, whatever.
Yeah, no, it actually,
Because I liked you also, but I was like, yeah, but I've never, I don't think I made a good enough impression that
That's so interesting.
I was going to, that somebody would be messaging me afterwards, like, oh, we should be friends outside of the podcast.
Oh,
So
I fully was like, I gotta, like, this is a guy who gets it, and I gotta be his friend. Like, it had nothing to do. It had nothing to do
immediately
with
I was
Bethany.
like, okay, this is because he wants to be friends with me, and then it's going to work out
Oh,
with
no.
Bethany. So
No.
okay, yeah, so whatever.
And the funny thing is that I was like, I don't want to be with anybody. So I was like, no Bethany, no one.
And that's what she was saying.
Right.
And then she messaged me one day. She's like, yeah, I'm going to get coffee with Dennis. I was like, guess I'm not hearing from Dennis anymore. He got it.
And then I kept messaging.
Yeah,
you.
and then we kept talking. I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah, no,
So
I was for real.
Yeah, so it like that was just, it was, I knew from the get-go.
That
Like,
is so funny, man, because
even if it wasn't the intention.
Right. Because I fully invested in a friendship with you.
Yeah.
I was like, it was one of those things where I was like, he's going to be friends with me whether he likes it or not.
Yeah. And I'm looking at it like, okay, I just need to get them dating
And then
so
leave.
he doesn't have to keep using me.
Wow, that's so funny. And here we are.
Yeah, here we are,
Legos
building Lego together, which I only do.
And me still messaging you
Yeah.
and being annoying.
Well, no, it was never annoying. It was more of like,
What is he?
why would he be messaging me if it wasn't?
Yeah,
because
you
he
thought
liked
that I was the
Bethany?
kind of guy that just wanted to get on your good side because I knew that you guys
That's
were
exactly
friends.
what it was.
And like, yeah, and I was just trying to fucking weasel my way into this whole thing.
Yeah, this whole thing.
And I
yeah.
was like,
I just
nah.
knew that one day we'd be building Legos together. Yeah.
I don't know how you do this shit. You're always making stuff. You're always like, yeah, I'm doing a new web series. I'm like, ugh.
When I'm not producing something or working on something, I just get super depressed, like I'm wasting time.
Yeah.
It's not like a depression where like, I guess maybe depressed isn't the word. I get like mad at myself as if I'm wasting time. So it's always thinking about something. And then this was just a case where I'm like, I don't want to do something that's too much work. I don't want to do another labeled right now because I want to focus on selling labeled. I need to do something where it's minimum effort, which is basically what I'm doing here, building Lego and just interviewing my friends, like just talking to my friends about whatever they have going on, because I feel like these kinds of conversations don't happen a lot. I feel like when you do meet with your friends and you hang out, you're talking about stuff that's going on in the moment, especially if it's people you talk to a lot.
Yeah.
So it's good to just shoot the shit with them
Well, yeah,
when
and,
that's
like,
the goal.
I would have never even known. I think I'm missing like 3 pieces already. I would never even known that you had felt that way if we hadn't done this. Like,
What do you mean?
I didn't know that you thought that I was using you.
No, I say using me. I was like, okay.
No, but I think it's legitimate. You know?
When Bethany told me how good the podcast went, I was like, oh, he probably loves Bethany. And this was before I even met you. Because Bethany has this personality where she can win you over.
Right.
She has like this charming personality.
Yeah, she's a sociopath.
Yeah. So, and I'm the same way. So it's like, I always, my goal at all times is to get people to like me.
Right.
And I feel like I'm one of those, like I'm trying to think of a reference that my viewers would get, but like a villain that's destined to fail. So at the end of every interaction, I just assume it was the worst interaction that person's ever had.
So you're like a really secure human being.
Oh my God, it's definitely insecurity, but I assume that I've impressed nobody with my interactions. Like someone who I was talking to one of my friends, she's like, "Oh, you should ask out so and so. She really liked you." I was like, "No, she didn't. She was being nice." She's like, "No, she literally told me she liked you."
She's like,
I was like, "No,
John." She said, "I really like John."
Yeah.
And you're like, I don't believe it.
That's what it was. It was like she was. Yeah. That's essentially how it goes. So.
Oh my God.
So. When I meet new people, it's like, okay, I'm going to do my best to get them to like me, but I know exactly how this is going to go, and I need to just accept that.
So the reason why I like you so much and continue to like you is that you are a New Yorker. You're like a real, like...
We're a rare breed.
And so am I. Like, even though I grew up on Staten Island, it's like... and you live in, like, real Brooklyn. You don't live in, like, fake Brooklyn.
Yes, I take pride in my real Brooklynness.
Yeah, real Brooklyn is... I mean, people don't understand real Brooklyn. Like, there is a vibe to it that is incomparable to any other place in the world. Because you do have, like... It's like a time warp. There's not... Nothing has changed, you know?
And that's how they want it.
Right.
Like my area of Brooklyn is all Trump supporters because they want things to go back to the way they were, where it was only
The good old days when everyone was racist.
Yeah, that's exactly how it is in my area, and it's like depressing. Like when you look at the map and it shows you who voted for what, and I'm just in a sea of red.
Yeah, it's awful. That's how I feel when I go back to Staten Island. I'm like, oh
Yeah.
God, all right, I'm definitely missing pieces. Wow, this is not as easy as it looks.
No, it's a lot easier when you have all the pieces. I
Oh
think-
no, this is one big slab.
Yeah,
here.
I think I set you up to fail. This
No,
is
I
not
love it.
good.
I'm also missing one of these. I'm gonna just keep putting this thing
Keep
together.
putting together the best you can, and we'll see how it turns out. This is going to be an interesting episode. Then I have a brand new set for you.
Awesome.
Unused.
Awesome.
So wait, you grew up in Staten Island?
Yep.
And
I was
what,
just there for the holidays.
what made you come to Brooklyn?
The fact that people called me faggot and just wanted me to die.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Why?
That was-
Because you dressed like a human being?
Yeah. And I was interested in art, and I was different.
I was cultured.
I was cultured. I had different interests.
I
other
didn't
than
want to work in a
sports.
pizzeria.
Yeah, because I didn't want to fucking exactly. I didn't want to fucking work at a pizzeria, and I didn't want to drive an IROC Z, and I didn't want to listen. Well, actually, you know what? I actually really
So
like.
you were like the outcast of Staten Island because you
Oh.
wanted to experience new things.
Exactly. And so I was like, I gotta get out of here. So like from a very young age, I was like, I need to get out of here. I got chased a bunch. And then
Literally out of there?
I literally got chased off of Staten Island by toughs. By neighborhood toughs.
What year was it?
Like I would say like 1992 to 1995 or 96.
Rough years?
Man, those were the roughest years that I ever had, and my saving grace was music. Everything, I just sort of lost myself in the guitar and in listening to music. And what I would do is when I was younger, and I think that every musician does this, when I was younger, I was just imitating who I loved. So I loved Green Day and I loved Nirvana, and that's what I grew up with. I grew up with those groups. And what had happened was I started imitating like the way Kurt Cobain sang. So I would sing just like him. And then I would imitate how Billy Joe sang because I kind of like was over. I remember being over Nirvana at some point and being like, now I'm punk.
Yeah.
And then I would do that and just kind of imitate that way of singing. And then I found like Weezer, and then Weezer became my favorite band because I was like, oh, this music is so sad and pretty, but it's also like so heavy, and it sounded like metal. And I was
Yeah.
like, what the fuck is this? So then I got really into that, and then I got into emo, and then I got into, more punk, and then I got into like Op Ivy and all the crusty stuff, and it just kept going and going and going until I finally was like playing all the time and in bands and wanted to pursue it.
Yeah.
And my first band was not good, which I think is normal. Or no, maybe
What was
like
the name of it?
Puddle.
Oh, that's it.
Oh, it was someone gave me the demo. I have the demo.
But it's good that you stopped at Puddle. I think Puddle of Mud was too ambitious. Here's what's interesting about Brooklyn and why I would say you had it easy.
Oh, okay.
I was called faggot,
Yeah.
and I was trying so hard to dress like them, look like them, act like them, and I was still called faggot. The beauty of it, though, was that I would say 3 or 4 of the guys that used to call me faggot are all gay now. That's the beauty of it. And I really want to interview them.
You need to build a friendship with them.
Yeah, I really have so many questions. Like, and it wasn't just faggot this, faggot that. It was also calling inanimate objects gay.
Right.
That car is gay.
Dude, that's so gay. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
it was those people that I would get that shit from, and now 3 or 4 of them have come out, and I'm like, it makes sense. But yeah, I would say my early 2000s could have been a little better.
Yeah. I mean, it's tougher for some people to let it go than others. Like, I have no problem. I grew up, my uncle was gay.
Yeah.
He died of AIDS. I didn't know that because my parents were trying to protect me in some way from, I don't know what.
Yeah.
I don't know what they were trying to protect me from. But, and when I found out later, I was like, holy shit. Like, my uncle, like, died from something, and then I became very sensitive to that word and using it, and also I started to get very angry when
Yeah.
I would hear it, and then I would start throwing punches because I was like, I knew someone who was close to me, and I found out through this from a family therapist. I didn't even know, so I was like, oh my God, like this is it was shocking to me. I didn't know what to make of it.
Yeah.
You know, and from that day on, I was like, I'm never using that word again. I'm never gonna call someone that, and I'm going to defend anyone who feels marginalized and hurt. So I would. So then I became more of like a warrior for people that were in that who were gay or just different. Because then I was like, wait a minute, I'm fucking different. I was called like, imagine how they feel. So I really became somewhat of a, more of an avenger at
You're
that point.
what they call a champion.
Yes.
I'm championing the cause.
Yes, exactly. Look.
Yeah, and then when you finish this, the next piece back here, you'll be able to curl he's missing some teeth, but that's because you're missing some pieces. You're getting through. I'm actually impressed. See, I'm a little bit different. I think I've sort of, I think my experience growing up has, like just being bullied and stuff like that, it has given me the mentality of you cannot control other people. You could only control how you react to the stupid things that they do. Mm-hmm. So yes, I try not to say the words that I know are going to offend people, but I also have the stance of they're just words. Mm-hmm. You need to, and this was why I'm one of the people who actually really loved Dave Chappelle's latest special, Sticks and Stones. He goes on these topics that everyone was like, oh my God, this is the worst. How could he say all these things? The special's called Sticks and Stones for that purpose, to show you that he can say whatever he wants. If you let it ruin your day, that's not on him, that's on you. You can't control everybody and everything.
Right.
It's why I sort of hate this cancel culture. Oh, this person tweeted something bad 10 years ago. We're going to lose them this job that they got, or we're going to make sure they don't host this, or we're gonna call up their employer and get them fired. We cannot live in that world. That's a dangerous world to live in.
Agreed. And I also I don't want to speak as a white guy who has lived.
You are a white guy. You have no choice but to speak as a white guy.
Right. As a white guy who's lived a pretty privileged life, I don't want to start saying like, oh, well, we've got to not cancel people. But I agree with you. I think that we do have to cancel people who have raped, who have done horrible things, because those people actually have committed a crime. You know what I mean?
No. There's no room in that. That's a completely different thing. There's no room for criminal activity in this world. I mean, in my mind, I'm a lot crueler than capital punishment. I don't want to kill people that commit certain crimes. I want to and this is going to sound sick, I want to paralyze them and release them back into the world. I do not want my taxes giving them the time of their lives in jail. So I work at a record label. We have an account that delivers to the prison system. Yeah. And they're a pain in the ass to deal with. Why am I going through all this work to make sure these people in jail have music? They lost that privilege. That privilege was gone the second they murdered someone. They don't get music anymore. So music helped you get through your years of just bullying and shit like that.
Yeah, I mean, I lost myself. I mean, I did lose myself to drugs for a little while, and I had to...
What kind of drugs?
Everything.
Really?
At a very young age, I started doing everything, and I would do everything at once. So I wasn't doing it right. Yeah, I wasn't doing drugs right. So I really fucked my brain up, and then I had to... my parents sent me away to a little rehab, and then I came out and I was better. And then when I got back into it's funny admitting it when I went back to being in like bands in the early 2000s, I definitely fucked around and took drugs again.
Yeah.
But then I stopped, you know, and I.
But it's hard to be in that world without it. I think it's a very common thing. It's a very common thing in the music industry.
When someone's holding a fucking giant bag of drugs under your nose, you know,
and that person is you.
And that person is you. As one Englishman said, "Wow, your nose was built for this."
The best compliment you could receive in the drug world.
Yes. I was 17 years old and I was going to, you know, just these awful meetings, and I was like, I don't like this. I was like, this is depressing.
It was the meetings that caused you to stop doing the drugs.
It was the meetings that I was like, I never want to come back here. So, you know, and then what happened was, but it doesn't matter how you get sober, it matters if you stay sober. And I've been sober for, the last time I did drugs was on my 30th birthday, and I was, you know, I remember that night.
Oh boy. So then you couldn't have been doing too many drugs.
No, I remember the morning. Sorry, I don't
okay.
remember the night. I remember waking up, and I woke up, and there was a chihuahua pissing on a TV set.
There really wasn't. This was just the drugs still in his system. There was no chihuahua.
And the chihuahua was looking at me.
It started speaking Turkish.
Started speaking in tongues, and I was like, "Oh man, I gotta stop. Like this is." And I remember just that walk home. I was like, "Oh man, I'm done. Like I can't do this anymore." And that was it. And then I was like, "I'm done. You know, I'm done doing it." And man, that was a great fucking day.
I'm trying not to judge you particularly hard because you are missing pieces on this one. But it is very entertaining to watch you still try and do it, and I respect your ambition.
Gee, thanks. Thanks, John.
I'm going to have to be more careful with my future episodes, making sure that the pieces are actually there. So you got into photography.
Yeah, I kind of fell ass backwards into it. I ended up, I was catering. I don't know if you've ever catered before.
I have. I hated it.
It's awful.
It's a nightmare.
Awful.
Were you like a travel catering, or were you working in a catering
I
hall?
was local. I was in New York City.
I worked in a catering hall, and it was terrible.
I mean, I have never had a worse time in life than when I was catering. It was so shitty and just so fucking awful. But yeah, I kind of just fell ass backwards into photography because this guy one day was like, "Hey, I heard you take pictures," because I did as a hobby. But I never thought I could do it professionally. You know what I mean? Like you never think you can do certain things professionally until you do them. And when you do them, you suddenly are doing them well. And it's right. It feels right, you know? And
how did you how did you learn the basic, you did photography, did you take
I
classes
had done
for it?
No, I had done photography before just by figuring it out. You know, almost like it's kind of like how you do things, right? Like you just kind of figure it out. You're like, all right, like I know these basics.
Yeah.
You know, I know these basics. Actually, I mean, all right, I was shooting on film for a while.
You love film.
Yeah, film's great.
I still have not seen pictures from Jersey Web Fest.
Yeah, that's gonna take a while. I don't know.
Got to find someone to develop them.
Yeah, I actually use this great online service.
Walgreens.com.
Yeah. Here we go. This is my, look at it. Oh.
Oh, great. It's good. Oh, that was good. Okay, that's impressive. I mean, he's missing part of his head.
Mm-hmm.
Not your fault.
And here's our
his
hero,
eyes
heroine.
are not in there. Not your fault.
Yeah, I mean, they didn't give me eyes. See, look. There's no eyes.
Oh, there are no eyes.
Yeah.
Okay, well, this is pretty impressive considering.
I mean, that's not, I don't want to pat myself on the back.
No, I am actually impressed. You've finished the set, which doesn't get done often on this show, as you've seen. He's got the mouth, he's got the cameraman. Oh, and there we go, broken jaw. So how did you transition, before we get on to your final set, how did you transition from photography to film? You always wanted to make film. Was it just a natural transition?
Yeah, I was about 3 years into photography, so this was 2015.
Okay.
And I was dating a young woman who ended up being the lead in my first film, and I had this idea for a film for a short film, and I thought it was going to be I thought it was a great idea because it was something that had happened to me, but then I just fucked with it enough where I could make it a narrative and something kind of beautiful. Not something kind of beautiful, something very beautiful.
Very beautiful.
Yeah, and so with like no budget and, you know, my limited knowledge of things, I hired a sound man and had one camera and one lens and an idea. And my girlfriend at the time, who's named Danielle Goulden, and she's the lead in my first film, The Weekend, we set off for 3 days to do this thing. We shot it over a weekend. We shot actually in the days, they were in order. We shot almost everything in order, which was weird because we shot everything in real time on the days. So Friday we shot on a Friday, Saturday we shot on a Saturday, Sunday we shot on a Sunday, and then I think we did shoot a little bit on a Monday, but it was generally this incredible experience. And after that, you know, I didn't even want to submit it to festivals.
Yeah.
Because we had wrapped, and there was you know, arguing during it. There was you know,
We're gonna get to that.
There was the pains of making a film. You know, and like me.
Except it's someone that you have to deal with after the fact, as opposed to just hiring a cast and hiring a crew, and then it's like once it's done, go fuck yourself.
Yeah, and I will never say anything ill about anyone.
Yeah.
But it definitely wears down on a relationship. And well, funny thing is that I'm jumping ahead of it, but it has only made Bethany and I's relationship stronger after making our film together.
Yeah.
Which is pretty amazing, but it's different relationships, you know? Danielle's happy now, I'm happy now, we're good. But in making that film, I was originally like, I don't want to send this to festivals. Like, I don't want to deal with that. Let's just put it out ourselves.
Yeah.
They were like, you're crazy. So I started to submit to festivals, and it wasn't going well. No one wanted it. Then suddenly we got one. Then we got another one. Then we got another one. Then we started getting awards. Then we were just like going all over the place. And then we got into the film market at the Cannes Film Festival, which was incredible. I mean, it's not Cannes, it's not the competition, but we ended up going to Cannes with the film to try to sell it.
Which is amazing.
Which was amazing. This was my first film. We ended up winning something like 35 awards and got into 40-something festivals.
That's insane.
I learned so much, I traveled so much. Then I did my second film, like after Danielle and I had split up, I was like, well, now I'm going to do a new film. And I went into comedy because The Weekend is a very heavy drama.
Yeah.
Available on Amazon Prime. Just search The Weekend
Shameless
under
plug.
Dennis Cahlo. And then I did Death and Disco Fries, which was this funny kind of like absurdist comedy. And then after I had met Bethany, I did Lonely Hearts, which is the third, and I also just did a full-length documentary this year. So 2019 was a huge year.
Big year for the Cahlo Foundation.
Yes. I like the Cahlo Foundation.
We got to start that. That's going to be your charity.
Well, but I don't have any money.
Oh, I mean, eventually.
Right.
So wait, I want to talk about that in a second. Let's
Sure.
get to that in a second. So when you decide you're going to produce something with someone that you're dating, how miserable is it?
Okay, so I think you have to be in the right relationship. Let me just say that.
Okay.
Because to jump ahead, Lonely Hearts, my third short film, I conceived with Bethany as executive producer.
Okay, so from the get-go, this was a shared project, which is a big deal.
Yes. So I had come up with the idea. I originally was going to do a screenplay that I'm dying to do. It's a short, but I want to kind of get out of shorts now because I've made a feature and now I'm like, I want to do features. But I have this short that's beautiful. I think that can be used as like a proof of concept for a bigger piece.
Yeah.
It's called Sis. It's about my mom and my uncle who passed away of AIDS. It takes place in the early 80s and it flashes back to the 50s. That's what I wanted to produce next. I was like, I want to do a prestige short with a big crew and like hopefully like get into really big festivals with it and da 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 da. Honestly, like with the rate of like the monumental task that was ahead of me with that film, I was like, I need to shelve this for now. Like it was just too much. So I meet Bethany, and then, she's very talented, and I think she's extremely talented, and I wanted to write something for her. I was like, I have an idea, because I came up with this idea out of nowhere, and I pitched it to her. I don't want to say it. I don't want to spoil too much.
Yeah.
Because I want people to see the film, because it is funny, and it has sort of a catch to it that I don't want to reveal. But I was listening to some true crime podcasts, and I came up with this idea, pitched it to her. She loved it, and I said, "You're going to play the lead," and we got Pal on board, who you know.
Yeah, love Pal.
Because Pal's great. She's a tremendous actor too.
Yeah.
She's unbelievable, and her and Bethany in this film are just dynamite. So to answer your question, Bethany and I agreed from the start how the film should look, how the film should feel,
Yeah.
and how it should be filmed. And I basically told her, she's like, look, I want to take my hands off of, I want to focus on acting during the shoot. She's like, I will executive produce it, meaning I'll put up most of the money.
Yeah.
But I don't want to deal with the aspects of anything else.
And that's a lot, because having produced with Bethany, I wanted her to, this was our project, I wanted her to focus on the acting, but I also didn't trust myself to not have her involved in at least post-production, where firsthand, I was sending her updates every 10 minutes. Just edited this, just edited it.
Yep.
I didn't trust anything. So I needed her to be just as involved, which is difficult for an actor who really wants to focus on the craft that they genuinely want to be pursuing.
And she was so focused on Labeled too with you.
Yeah.
She was, every time she would get an edit, she'd be like, we would be watching TV, she's like, pause it, I need to review this. I'm like, great.
Yeah.
We understand, I think that there's a level of understanding in our relationship that's very, it's very, there's a line, right? There's this is my profession, and our relationship is paused while the profession is happening.
Yeah.
And I think that that's important, and I don't think people are able to do that a lot of the time. So I think that that's why it works for us.
Well, it's difficult because there's an aspect of this whole thing that you're just trying to do your job in doing that. And as I'm doing Labeled, I'm also the director just because I'm behind the camera. I have no training as a director. So when someone's doing something not the way I envision it, I'm like, no, do it this way. No, you're overacting. No, I'm not good at that interpersonal stuff. And it's easy for someone to take it personally. So when it's one thing when you send an actor home, and I hope I haven't done this, because I am actually still good friends with all of them. So if I did, they're not showing that they're mad at me. But it's easy for someone to take something personal and then just take it home to their life. But then when you're sharing this life, if she's mad at you, you're going home to someone who's mad at you. Not that you guys live together, but you might not know you said or did something. In her mind, you're the worst person in her life right now. And now you have this relationship where you did something unintentionally, but now it's blown out of proportion, or vice versa. She did something or said something, and you maybe you thought she was stepping on your toes, or whatever the situation. It's now becoming a relationship issue instead of just keep it on the field.
So it's everything you said is totally valid, and I think that happened with The Weeknd, because I didn't know what I was. I knew what I was doing and I had a vision, but I didn't understand how to communicate things well to a person I was in a relationship with.
Got it.
And I think a lot of what happened on the set of The Weeknd was 100% my doing and my reaction, because I had a vision and I wanted to get it out a specific way, and I wasn't willing to hear about choices. Now, I realize that as a director now, you have to give room for your actors to make choices. And every actor is different. So there are some actors that want to be told what to do, and others that want to have the freedom to make their choices, and you kind of work with them.
Yeah.
And some love being directed. So with Bethany, I think going into Lonely Hearts, I said, I want to see how you do it, and then I'll give you any changes that I want, I'll let you know. Cool? And she was like, cool. So we would do takes, and I was like, that was perfect. I want to make a little adjustment to this, but generally that's the vibe.
You had your kid gloves on, which is what I call it. Without wanting to sound insulting.
No. But I'm gonna say I disagree, because I didn't have kids gloves on, because that's how I treat every actor. I will say all right, now try it this way. Now there was one moment where I was sitting there and I'm watching her performance, and it's not going well. I'm like, this isn't going well, and I knew it. And I stopped the take. I said, and this was in front of everyone. I said, okay, right now, you're just being Bethany. I need you to be Celeste, the character. You're
How'd
you're
that
being
go?
that. She went, got it, and she took the direction perfectly.
Okay.
And she fucking nailed it. And then afterwards, of course, I'm like, are you upset? She's like, no, that was the right thing to tell me.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, good, because she's a fucking pro. You know what I mean? Like you have to, if you're an actor, you have to be able to take direction, no matter who it's coming from. You know what I mean? But I do think that as a director, there's a way to give the direction.
And that's my problem. For me, it's like, it's, in general, I think I have communication issues, but for me, it's very much like, I just need this done. Just do it this way.
You're also, we're dealing with sets that have serious, every set has time crunches.
Yeah.
But you're dealing with like, I need to be out of here by 6 o'clock. I don't have time to fuck around.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think that that's something very important to say to people at the beginning. Like there was a moment during Lonely Hearts where I didn't raise my voice, but everyone was kind of all over the place.
Yeah.
And everyone was getting loopy, and there was like...
Well, you had a lot of night shoots.
Yeah, and there was like suggestions flying everywhere. I said, guys, there's no time for this. We have this time. We need to be out of here at this time.
Yeah.
I was like, we have to shoot at 11 a.m. tomorrow or whatever, or like 6 or whatever. I had to be up at 11. I'm like, we need to focus, and I need everyone on point. And like, they whipped themselves into shape, and we're like, oh my God. And you have to do that as the director sometimes. You have to let people know, like, yes, this is fun, but we're also on a fucking time constraint.
Yeah.
And if you're the thing is that I'm borrowing a house from a friend.
Yeah.
You know, I have to be respectful of that time, although I was staying there. You know, I say, and I tell every director to do this, go make a movie with your own money.
Yeah.
And see how you feel. When
Not
you're making movies with someone else's money, you're not as respectful with time. When it's your own fucking money and your own time, then you really are like, we need to do this.
But what's crazy, I agree. When it's your money and your time, you are a little bit more respectful of that time. But when it's someone else's money, I think you're more respectful of the quality.
Uh-huh.
That's something I learned with Label. The first season, when Bethany and I were doing it with our own money, and then whatever we raised through GoFundMe, I would never do it that way again. It was a big mistake.
What was your experience with that?
It was just bad. It was just, we had a huge cast. We were scrambling at all times. We didn't have money for lighting or sound or anything, even to think about bringing in a sound guy at a normal rate. So we had like one episode, we had the friend of a sound guy who used, I'm pretty sure he could have just been using like newscaster. It was a mess. It needed a lot of work. You can hear it in season 1, the difference between season 1 and season 2. Granted, season 2, episode 5 doesn't sound great. But when we
Was that the one I did sound for?
No, you did sound for yours was fine. Which one did you do sound for?
I don't know.
No, you did camera work.
I did camera work.
Yeah, no, the sound was when we had to use my mics in the backstage of a music venue, and all the trucks were blazing, music was blazing. It was really bad. But when Warner decided to fund us for season 2 and for Anya, you start being more aware. We had a lighting person when we needed it. We were able to bring you in for camera one episode. But you're a little bit looser with the money because you want to put out that best product. We were able to shoot in Coney Island and shoot in place. We rented out a restaurant for an hour and a half. There were things that we were able to do that we didn't have to fake, which would have cheapened how it looked. So yeah, where your money is coming from is definitely a big.
And it's also, and you know this, it's also with the casting. So I knew Bethany was going to nail it, and as soon as I saw
how did you know that though?
I knew it because I've seen her work.
Okay.
And I knew it's an instinct. It's a fucking gut instinct, man. And I'm reading this great book, and I suggest everyone reads it, called Start With Why. and he talks about gut instinct, and it's so important to follow it. When I saw Pal, my gut instinct was she'll get it in the first take.
Yeah.
I knew it. I just saw her, and I was like, I know she'll
Listen,
get it in the
the
first
whole
take.
the whole labeled cast, I didn't see any of their footage except for like 2 people, and it was because I care less. Listen, this is what they want to do for a living. They're gonna be good at it.
Yeah.
I care more about how we get along, because I will do something like, no, you're doing it wrong, or no, you're overacting, and I need them to understand I don't mean anything bad, I'm just bad at communicating. So like my whole thing is always going to be, get someone that's going to make the job easier, deal with the acting later. You can do multiple takes, and the more takes you do, they will eventually get it. They're the first take, they're always going to be getting comfortable. The first take and last take will always be different. So you can always do multiple takes. You can't fix a shitty person that you have to deal with.
Exactly.
So like, and I was just talking to Kristen, who I became good friends with in season 1. She was 19. She came. I was like, she looked exactly like what I had in mind for the role. She came by the label. We talked. I was like, this chick's cool. We're gonna get along. She's gonna be fun to work with. Done deal. At that point, I based it strictly on the image I had in my mind. Had seen none of her work. And it worked out great. And then we became friends outside of that. Same thing with all of it. Like Pal's one of my closest friends now, because she gets it. She gets that it's a job, but you also have to get along with the people you're working with, or else it's going to show that, like, it's going to look like you're forced. You don't want to look like there's a gun held to your head off camera.
Exactly.
Like, you don't want to feel like this is just a job. And that's one of the things I did with Labeled season 1. I basically told everyone there was no pay, even though there was, because I wanted to see who still wanted to do it just based on the material.
Right.
Because if they like the material, I feel like they'll do it justice, versus, oh, well, I need to pay my bills, so I'm just going to do this, and it's going to be one day. But at the same time, I was also we paid them. We didn't pay them a ton, so I was very aware of how much time we were taking. We were shooting 11 pages in 5 hours, because I didn't want people sitting there for 4 hours just waiting for me to call them. I was very specific about how long I was going to have them each there. And when you're dealing with, like, episode 4 of season 1, we had 20 people in just that episode. You have to be aware of the people you're dealing with, and when you have a good relationship with them, they'll cut you slack on that. If you run a half hour over, an hour over, it's that kind of situation where if you show them respect as just human beings, you're going to get it back, and it's going to show on film. It's not going to feel like they're just phoning it in.
Exactly. And I think that, too, with comedy, you know, where you and I are coming from as directors with comedy is that I don't think people realize that if it's not delivered a specific way, or I can't use it for the edit.
Yeah.
So thank God, when I talk to Pal and when I talk to Bethany knows so much about editing with her podcast and with Labeled. She's so good at editing that if there was something wrong and I would stop the take, I'm like, guys, that's not going to work. I can't use that in my edit. It's not going to work. They got it.
Yeah.
They were like, oh, cool. So we'll just stick to the script. Because I gave them a lot of freedom. I'm like, oh, you know, but they didn't want to change the script. That was another thing. With the script, they were like, we like this dialogue. We don't want to change it, which was nice. That was like a big compliment. But I think that when you're saying, like, you know, oh, I'm whatever, I need to work on my communication skills, I think that, yeah, we all have to have a way of, like, saying certain things, but also we need to get things sometimes quickly and sometimes just the way it's written, especially with comedy, because comedy is so specific, and it's the timing and the edits are so, it has to be so precise. Especially with Lonely Hearts, it was a lot of zing, 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 boom, 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 back, forth, you know? Cut, funny, pause.
No, it has to all sync
has a
up
rhythm.
perfectly.
Yeah. And there's a rhythm and a flow to it. That Rhythm and Flow, great movie. There's a rhythm and a flow to it that you have to kind of stick with. And those two got it.
Yeah.
And they were able to take any sort of direction that I gave them wonderfully.
And and I saw the film, and it's great. And I think it shows that I think it would have been very different had you cast 2 people that didn't know each other.
Yep.
There was, like, I'm glad that you used Pal with Bethany, because they already had a good relationship from Labeled, and it just seems like there was a quick bonding, which is what you needed for that specific script.
Yes.
There needed to be a believable relationship there.
Yep.
Formed quickly.
Yep.
As always, we want to give away some sets to celebrate my skeleton Yoda, unfinished. Will be finished tonight, but we're going to be giving away 2 Star Wars sets. We got the Brickheads Darth Vader, the Microfighters Millennium Falcon. Subscribe to the channel. Follow us both on Instagram. Like us. Whatever. I don't know what else we do on social media. Just make sure you're involved in our social medias. He'll pick the winner. I'll announce it. 2 free sets. Can't go wrong. All right, you've had a break for long enough. I think it's time to bring on the next one. We're talking about film. It only makes sense that I bring up this topic. So one thing that I liked about, who are your favorite directors?
Stanley Kubrick.
Yeah.
Spielberg, Scorsese, Truffaut, and Penny Lane, who is a woman.
And one thing I liked is that you took a lot of things that make them who they are, and you put that into Lonely Hearts.
Totally, yeah. There's a lot of references in there.
And then your boy Scorsese went on his fucking tour for this shit movie he put out.
You don't like The Irishman?
No, I thought it was a boring lump of trash. Probably what I would you say that was his best film? I wouldn't even say it's one of his top 5 films.
No, but I really love it.
I thought it was a long pile of trash.
Oh, you think it's trash?
Yeah,
Some people share that with you.
I also have some feelings about his opinion on the Avengers movies.
Okay.
So we're going to talk about that.
Okay.
That being said, your new set, Captain Marvel. I did it also because it comes with a Samuel L. Jackson, which I feel like every Lego set, like every movie, should have Samuel L. Jackson in it.
Absolutely.
We need to talk about this Scorsese issue because I feel like you agree with him. You seem like a big quote-unquote cinema guy versus popcorn flicks.
Well, no, I love popcorn flicks.
Do you think there's validity in sort of his opinion on them not being cinema?
I think that's bullshit. I also think that like Spielberg suing or not suing or saying that Netflix shouldn't be putting out Oscar contenders is bullshit. I think they're showing their age at this point and they're not willing to move forward. And I think that after Joker, to say that films, like comic book films can't have legitimacy is absolute fucking bullshit. And I also love going to the movies and having a great time.
Yeah.
I just did 2 movies in a row not over the weekend because it was during the week because it's a vacation week.
Yeah, this week has me all fucked up.
I'm so fucked up. So, okay, so 1, I guess I start at the beginning with
Yes,
1.
1 is a good idea.
So I saw Uncut Gems, and then I also saw...
Amazing movie.
And then I saw Marriage Story, which are cinema. That's cinema. That's not...
What makes it cinema?
Well, Uncut Gems is a popcorn cinema, because it's so tense and, like, wonderfully real and gritty and everything, but it's cinema because there is a line that was drawn between popcorn flick and it being something that can stand the test of time. I'm not saying that popcorn movies can't stand the test of time. Like, let's face it, look, E.T. is a popcorn movie, but it's also cinema to me. Because of the way it's shot, because of the way it's told, but it's also a popcorn film. Indiana Jones, to me, is more of a popcorn film. But there is elements of deep cinema in there, like his one-shots, and some of like the cinema history that he puts in there. But I don't consider that high cinema. It's mid-level. You know what I mean? E.T. I think is like borderline high cinema because it's such a wonderful story. But this shit is so subjective anyway, man. Like I could be saying this and someone could be screaming at the screen right now.
I don't think it's very subjective at all. I think like and dislike of movies is subjective.
Yeah.
Here was my first issue with this statement. He's making a statement about what cinema is as he sells it, as he's promoting a movie he did for a streaming service. So we're already in an area of like you've lost all validity because you're pushing Netflix and talking about cinema.
Right.
And of course, he's an amazing director and he's made legendary movies. So I'm not discounting his talent as a director, but or his ability to to judge what a good film is. Again, that's where I think it's very subjective. But I am not okay with somebody saying that a movie is or isn't cinema, and then pushing his show, his movie on a TV and phone streaming service where people are watching his movie on their phone on their train ride to work.
Right. Right.
So he definitely lost me there right at the beginning. And then there's the aspect of films being subjective, of course. Are they cinema? Also something that... Yeah, that just shot at me. You just shot Captain Marvel's hand powers at me. Her hand powers sounded dirty. It's the aspect of if your films are so good, and let's just clarify what Scorsese was saying. It was coming from a place of real cinema isn't being shown in movie theaters because you have 8 theaters taken up by Avengers. That was his overarching thing. It's not cinema, but it's taking up 8 theaters, so real cinema doesn't get the exposure it gets. And my thing is, if your movie had that audience, and you can say whatever you want about a movie being good or bad, but there's no chance in hell that if this was a strictly theater release for The Irishman, it was going to be close to what the Avengers brought in. So you can say what you want about your feelings on the film, but you cannot take away the fact that there's a reason they take up 8 theaters in a movie theater.
Yes.
They bring in the money. And if you're a big cinema guy, this is also what infuriated me about it. If you're a big cinema guy, you want theaters to still be in business. Mm-hmm. That's keeping theaters in business. The Irishman, not keeping theaters in business. I love The Departed, still not keeping theaters in business. Mm-hmm. Business is being kept in by these popcorn, quote-unquote, roller coaster films he's talking about. Yeah, that's why people go to the theme park. They don't go to the theme park for the carousel. They go for the adrenaline rush. You can walk in a circle if you want a carousel. If you want the feeling you get from a carousel, walk around a table. But there's nothing that you get like a roller coaster in a theme park that brings you to that theme park. That's why you go there.
I agree with you, and I agree with him. I think that there should be a give and take. I think that because we are now in a spot where Avengers movies and Marvel movies and DC movies, where they are all kind of taking up a ton of space, and yes, I think it's quite unfair that there are some movies that may get overlooked. So now that we are in that spot, right, and that's what audiences are going to see, now is our opportunity, like what was done with Joker, to elevate the genre and to make $1 billion, because, okay, now we have a chance to make an artistic movie and an artistic statement with something that exists and that people are going to go see. Okay, so that's where we're at in society. I still believe in fighting for cinema to exist and for movies like The Atlantics to have a wider reach, but then that also doesn't explain why, you know, if his argument is valid or your argument, or if his argument is valid, then why did Parasite make so much money? A subtitled movie from Korea.
Word of mouth.
Right. So like that made a ton of money. And I don't know if it was word of mouth, and it's also a fantastic film. I mean, I feel like there is room, but I also feel like maybe it's the chosen few that get through.
Well, I think
to audiences.
Yeah,
does that make sense?
I think marketing is part of it. I mean,
yeah.
there was no shortage of marketing for The Irishman. Everybody was talking about it.
Right.
But I know a lot of people didn't like it, and I think there was a good crowd of people who did enjoy it, but I don't think that crowd is enough to go into to get. That's not the crowd you would get it to fill a theater, or to fill 4 theaters, or to have 18 showtimes a day. And that's the problem. And you can say what you want as Martin Scorsese, but you have to prove that you should have those theaters. You have not done anything to prove that your theaters that your film is going to film the same theaters that Avengers does. And when it does, once you do get that, and I'm sure the first week you would have had sold out shows of The Irishman, but the Avengers had sold out shows for 2 weeks.
Right.
In multiple theaters within the same movie theater.
Right.
So, I don't want to say make better films because it's Scorsese, but it's also make more sort of what you said about music. It was your escape. People want to escape the shit of the world. They don't want to go in there and have every emotion just because they can. They're dealing with enough of their stuff outside the theater. We want to go there and just see things explode. That's why Michael Bay is Michael Bay. He doesn't care. He made cars turn into robots and then shit exploded and people loved it. Even that made more money than his quote unquote cinema. So it comes down to who your target audience is. And yeah, he has a target audience. I just don't think that he can be talking about the Marvel movies when they do as well as they do. Mm-hmm. And I don't think he meant it as an attack. I think he genuinely meant it as, like, the little guys don't have the same opportunities because they give all these theaters to these big, but it's like they need to stay, like, cinema isn't keeping their movie theater in business. They only make money off the concessions, most movie theaters. Most movie theaters make money off the concessions, ticket sales, and purchase of the actual film goes to the studios. So their goal is to get people into the theater. And sure, will they sell out a 9 p.m. Saturday night showing of Irishman? Yes. Will they sell out a 4 p.m. showing of Irishman? Probably not. Will Avengers sell out at 4 p.m.? Yes. And 2 p.m. and noon. So that's where the theaters are coming from. The theaters don't give a shit what they put on the screen. They care about the people. I mean, look at some of the movies that have come out. Cats is playing now. The theaters
not doing so hot in terms of critics.
But yeah, I mean, my point is the theaters don't care what's on the screen.
Not doing so hot in terms of something. The Cats isn't really hitting.
Are you sure? It's not. It's very relatable.
Yeah.
Very relatable movie.
Oh, you mean cats talking that look weirdly like humans?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, was that not relatable?
Totally relatable.
Did you see it?
No.
Oh.
Did you see it?
No.
Okay.
I want to see it in a couple of weeks when the theater's going to be empty and I could do a live podcast from it. Just a one-off, like a live conversation with a friend while we're watching it.
Do you want to go see that movie?
Do I want to see it? No. Will I be, like I told you, like with my Olive Garden thing, I'm at the point in my life where I just want to do things for laughs.
So you know what you should do with Cats? So like, I mean, for the Olive Garden thing, if people don't know, with Olive Garden, you brought 2 of your Italian friends to the Olive Garden for an authentic Olive Garden Italian meal.
Yeah.
And they
very
fucking
authentic
hated it.
with margaritas.
And one of your guests who was there was on this show.
Yes. So Noelle was at the Olive Garden with us, and it was a terrible experience. We went to the one in the most dangerous area, so it wasn't safe, nor was it very, very Italian.
I'll never forget.
No olives, no gardens.
There was no olives. There were no gardens.
Most of us spit up food at the table.
Yes.
Because it was just, we couldn't digest it. It was undigestible. The breadsticks were good. The salad was good.
Yeah.
And I recorded the whole thing. I think it's one of my Instagram highlights. But
yes, please go to John's Instagram. See, I'm promoting you, man.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Please go to John's.
I'm terrible at promoting.
Go to Say It Ain't Sosis on Instagram, and it's marked. It's on the
the
highlights.
OG.
Yeah, and what is it called?
The OG.
The OG.
But ultimately, my point being, I paid for that dinner because I'm at the point where I will throw money at an opportunity to just laugh.
Yeah.
Like I just want to have a good time.
You know what? So
it was worth every penny.
So like the Olive Garden, what you have to do is bring a super duper Broadway
cat
nerd.
lover. Oh.
No. Yeah. Bring 2 people, a cat lover and a super duper Broadway nerd.
I would love a cat lover.
Bring a cat lover and a Broadway nerd, and then see what the reaction is from both of them. Live podcast.
I have to assume they're not going to be impressed with the cat aspect. When I saw the trailer, I said, "Oh, this is going to be problematic."
Oh, so problematic. And I lost a piece. I knew that something was gonna go wrong, and I love that guy. He's a great director. What he does with musicals by recording them live, instead of lip syncing everything. He's amazing. He's an amazing director. I knew that in my heart of hearts. I was like, this is a big miss. When I saw that, the first horrifying look of what the actors looked like, I was like, holy shit. But then again, look, it's easy for me to say it's shit. I haven't even seen it. I should go see it and then make a decision.
But I think part of it is a visual aspect. You were fully capable of determining that visually it was shit. This is the thing I don't like that's happening now.
Yeah.
Oh, you saw the unfinished version in the trailer. Then don't release it.
Then don't release the trailer.
Nobody was clamoring for a Cats trailer.
The problem with Hollywood is, I have an idea.
Yeah.
Let's retell the story of the Temptations, but they're women.
Yeah.
It's like, no, just write women better fucking parts.
Yeah.
Start a new thing. Don't start this whole let's just recycle fucking bad ideas and put a woman in it and then call it woke. You know what I mean? Like,
well,
what are you doing? Like, just write something original, you know?
When they were releasing the Harriet Tubman movie, I'm like, okay, this isn't a remake. It's based on history. But I kept saying, yeah, but these dumb kids, they're going to think it's a Harriet the Spy remake with a black actress. Because that's all that they're, like, there are people that are alive that have probably never seen an original idea.
Right,
Everything
exactly.
they've seen has been a reboot, a sequel, a reimagining. There's The Lion King just went from cartoon to better looking cartoon. It makes no
it's
sense.
Unnecessary. It's unnecessary. So, and don't even get me started on Aladdin. So, but now to bring us back to Scorsese's point, he does have a point, right? Like, so maybe we take Marvel out of the equation. For me, my biggest complaint is, why are you making this shit when there's millions of us out there like you and I who are coming up with ideas that need money, and yet you're throwing all this shit at the wall and seeing if it sticks, and it doesn't.
It goes to my point. What evidence do you have that your shit is going to work?
Because my shit's good.
Well, that's my point. We all think our shit's great.
Right. We don't know. But
unfortunately, corporations run on a guarantee. We need to know that this is going to make money. We know that people love The Lion King. They're going to see The Lion King with computer animations. We know that's a safe bet. Lonely Hearts, we don't know.
We don't know.
You can throw in whatever actress you want. I mean, and even then, those things flop. Men in Black International flop. It had the
Wait, what?
Men in Black International.
That's the thing?
They just they just rebooted Men in Black with Chris Hemsworth and Tessa Thompson, both stars of Thor, both stars of the Avengers movies. Flopped.
Well,
they were like, oh, we're gonna reboot Men in Black, which it wasn't a reboot. It was sort of like a continuation of the Men in Black story. But we're gonna put two of our biggest current stars.
When did that come out?
It was out over the summer. It's already gone. It's already on TV.
Okay.
So it's like they're not always hitting home runs. When they can hit the home run, they try to hit it. Avengers, Marvel, I think they're going to hit some flops. I think Eternals is going to flop. I think Black Widow is going to blow things out of the water.
Wait, what's the Eternals?
The Eternals, they're a superhero group that is not as well known. I mean, I shouldn't say that because Iron Man.
Wait, isn't Angelina Jolie in that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
What was her last movie? She's not. I don't think she's a ticket seller right now. I think people are going to have to see the trailer. And look, I don't want to shit on it either, because if I see the trailer and I'm like, oh, I've never seen that done in a film before, that might actually be cool. Like, that's how I felt about Transformers. I love Armageddon, but I was not a huge Michael Bay specific fan. When I saw Transformers, I was like, I've never seen a movie where a car was driving, hit a hill, jumped in the air, and then turned into a robot. Like, to me,
I loved the first Transformers.
Yeah, me too.
I really loved it. And I love that they had Optimus Prime, the voice.
Yeah.
Like, what's his name?
Peter.
He's great.
Yeah.
And like, I thought it was really good.
No, they did a lot of things right.
I'm one of those people that everyone's like, Shia LaBeouf sucks. I fucking love him. He's a great actor.
Oh, no. I mean, he sucked at the time. I think I don't want to say he sucked at the time. I will say you suck at something you don't care about. And I think despite his success, I don't think he legitimately cared about that film enough to give it the justice he would have given any of his other roles. So he had just come off, his biggest thing before that was that Disney Channel show.
Mm-hmm.
It goes back to sort of what I said about Labeled. Like, I want someone who genuinely wants to be there and doesn't see a paycheck and is like, okay, this is going to get me through the bills. It's one day of work. I want someone to be like, oh, this is great, and it's going to be funny enough that I could use in my reel. Like, I want them to be excited about the project.
Yeah.
I don't think he was excited about the project. At
About
least by the third
Transformers?
one. Yeah, there's a good chance that maybe the first one he was. By the third one, there's no chance that he was still excited about that. He was like, it was just a bunch of dumb fart jokes. Like, I group everything in, like, if it's amateur humor, I just group it all as fart jokes. And fart jokes can be funny, but I imagine as the teller of fart jokes, you can only fart so many times before you're like over it. How many times can I fart before like my asshole hurts? You know what I'm saying? Like that, and that's where I think he was by the third movie.
Right.
He's like, okay, guys, I'm bleeding at this point.
I gotta get out of here.
Yeah,
I gotta get
we
out
can't
of
do this
thing.
anymore.
Yeah. Have you seen Marriage Story yet?
No, I don't think I could sit through that. Adam Driver irritates me.
Oh, really?
He is so
unreal in this
irritating.
movie.
And then I read the article that he like walked out on a NPR interview because they played a clip from the movie and he can't watch himself. Get the fuck out of here, you weirdo. You were in a war and walking out, watching a clip of yourself is what triggers you. Get the fuck out of here. Oh, I hate that shit. Like, this is your craft. Imagine if I just shot Labeled and gave it to an editor and said, I can't watch what I just wrote and produced. Please do what you will with the footage. Get out of here.
To your point, I'm gonna say this.
I can't watch myself either. This has been rough. Editing this. Oh my! I am not meant for. That's the other thing. I'm not meant for camera. Like,
Right.
I should have done the podcast route, which we'll get to in a second for you. But yeah.
So, to your point, I won't make a movie that I can't watch. I make movies that I enjoy watching. So, like, when I sit through them at a screening, I'm like, yes, I love this movie. And I don't think that that's wrong. I think that there's this artistic thing where what people... I mean, look, I understand... Look, Adam Driver probably might just not want to see himself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, he might be uncomfortable. He may hate the way he looks as a human. You know, like, he may not enjoy it. And I know a lot of actors who are like, yeah, I don't watch my stuff when it's done. It's done. It's my job, or it affected me a lot. You know, they're emotional people. They go through things. I mean, sometimes The Weeknd it was hard for me to watch on a visceral level because that thing happened to me.
Yeah.
And I definitely felt something like while watching it, but I loved it and I still love it, and I'll never be like, I hate my movie, I can't watch my movies. It's like when musicians are like, oh yeah, no, I'll never listen to my albums. Well, then why did you fucking make it?
Yeah.
Like, why would you, why, like,
Well, for
why?
me, it's less about, I can understand if he was at home and his girlfriend or somebody put it on and he was like, no, please, I don't want to watch this. It's your job to promote the movie.
Mm-hmm.
You cannot expect them to not play a clip of the movie. And if they do, you shouldn't be walking out. That's just, it makes you look bad.
Yeah.
How bad does it really trigger you that they made you watch a clip of the thing that you worked so hard on? It comes off, and he made it clear that he was proud of it, but it comes off as sort of just attention seeking. I don't know if that was his goal, but it definitely brought him
That's
enough
how it came
articles
across
on it.
to you, was
Yeah.
attention seeking.
Like, oh,
Yeah.
great, you had to walk out. You made this about you, not the hundreds of people that worked on this film
Right.
that rely on your face. Whether you like your face or not, they chose you for this film. You accepted the role.
Mm-hmm.
You knew the things you were going to have to do. You maybe didn't know what clip they would play or whatever, but it's your job now to sell this movie. You're the face of the movie.
Yeah.
Don't do that. I mean, it's granted, it's Netflix, so they were going to put money into it, but
I think I have to get up and look for a piece.
we've spoken about music. We've spoken about film. You also have we spoke about this earlier. I came on your podcast. You have the Carrie Allen Picture Show.
Yes, sir.
Who is Carrie Allen?
So Carrie Allen.
How
is
many
a-
times do you get asked that? Is it a lot?
All day.
Okay.
All day, every day. So Carrie Allen is a pseudonym that I made up for my production company, and how I came up with it is I took. Well, I mean, let me just preface this with I understand that he's not a popular person or a good person that is, or considered a good person now in the era of Me Too, but I happen to love Woody Allen's movies. I will always love them. I will always reference them, and they are part of my life. So I took his name and Cary Grant's name, and I did Cary Allen, and I really loved the way that sounded because it sounded like a person that sounded like an old-timey producer with his legs up on the table.
I mean, that's what I thought it was like. I thought it was related to somebody. Yeah.
Yeah. So I said, okay, Cary Allen, and then Cary Allen Productions, and then I wanted the Cary Allen Picture Show. I'm a big fan of Bogdanovich, and Bogdanovich did the Last Picture Show, and that I'm trying to put my phone somewhere. I realize that's out. Okay. So the Last Picture Show, I took that and did the Cary Allen Picture Show.
Even though it's a podcast.
Even though it's a podcast. Exactly. Even though it's a podcast, I said, fuck it. It's going to be like a thing.
You do you.
Yeah, me do me. And look, I fixed it.
You did. I'm impressed.
Thank you. And then that's how that all came about, because I wanted it to be one thing. I wanted the production company and the podcast to kind of be simultaneous.
Under the one banner.
thing. Yes, under the one banner.
All right, let's see where we're at. I think
well, I mean,
we've been here long enough.
Look at all this that I've gotten done.
You've gotten a lot done without full pieces. So I'm actually impressed. You got the dinosaur Lego Studio set done. You've got the cameraman Lego Studio set done, and I would say you're about halfway done with the Avengers set. So I'm actually very impressed. There were minimum issues here. You started off with with pieces missing, and now you're at a place where
I'm in a good place in
you
life.
are.
Yeah.
I think you've probably been the best guest at Lego, but we're going to see when we're going to let the 4 viewers judge. Thank you to the one and only Dennis Cahlo for being my guest today. Make sure you're following him. Cary Allen Picture Show is his podcast.
Available on iTunes, Spotify, wherever you listen to podcasts.
I don't listen to podcasts, but I should start. I listen to yours, yeah.
Yeah.
Where can they find you on Instagram?
Instagram is just Dennis Cahlo, my name.
It's at the bottom here. It's in the credits. You'll find him. Lastly, is there an ETA on Lonely Hearts?
So both Lonely Hearts, the short film, and In Flowers Through Space, which is the full-length documentary, they will be going on the festival run for at least a year through 2020.
Okay.
And I think we have to see what we're going to do in terms of a release, but most likely late 2020. All of my other films, you can see The Weekend at Amazon Prime. It's for free streaming. It's a 20-minute film. It's my first film. I love it so much. I'm very proud of it.
Put down that Mrs. Maisel garbage.
Yeah. Plus, that's not real. I don't want to get into how problematic that show is.
Oh, we should have. Maybe next season 2.
At your party, I had a discussion about why I don't like it.
Ooh.
But I'll save that because it's
Season
controversial. 2. And yes, I align myself with feminism. It has nothing to do with that.
I don't. I'm very pro-male.
Yes.
That's it for us. Bye.
Bye.